Okay, we are live. So it should start to show up in all of my followers' LinkedIn feeds and YouTube feeds. So I've never done YouTube before. So hopefully, if some VanderkinVerse YouTubers are out there, let us know in the comments. So it might be a little slow here as people find it, but we'll start with some introductions, I guess, and then maybe we'll circle back to as the numbers grow. So. Hey everybody, it is just 1 minute before the top of the hour. We'll see, we'll give it another 30 seconds, and we'll go ahead and get started.
All right.
Okay, let's go and let's call that top of the hour. So, hi Victoria.
Hi, Thomas.
The good news is some people are probably watching this, on replay too. So if they don't get the comments in, they'll have to watch along on replay. So I'm Thomas Vanderkin. For those of you following along, probably see me on LinkedIn, but and YouTube. But I have a very special guest. I'm super excited to have Victoria Cameron on. Hi, Victoria.
Hi.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I'm Victoria. I work at Lenovo. I'm very excited to be here. Seeing a lot of the videos that Thomas does, always very exciting, lots of fun stuff. And I also do a little bit of fun stuff as far as unboxings, a couple of different social media videos. So yeah, excited to be here, excited to talk with Thomas, and excited to test out a bunch of new technology with him. I hope we can use this as a good test run for a lot of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So just to start off with, I watched your video this morning. I've seen several of them, and I'm super jealous of your technology. I mentioned this a few times. You got great editing skills. So you want to tell us a little bit about your video you shot and released yesterday?
Yeah, so, and it's kind of funny because a lot of people on video these days, they do it for work and they're kind of like, I don't want people like, seeing my house. You want to maintain a certain level of barrier in between. But yeah, about once a month, I let people right into my living room where I'm recording videos and I'm talking about technology. And it's good because it's very much so a personal experience for me, and then also it can be very educational, like talking about things of technology while still being social. So the whole setup basically goes, it's kind of like the Tasmanian devil comes through my living room once a month and just like turns everything around. So my couch is over on the wall now, and I've got chairs moved around, and my lights are all in the room.
Yeah.
And the space gets turned into a studio of sorts for me, and it's good, very inventive. My mom calls me a tinkerer. And I'm able to record some different content. And it's great because I'll do the recording of it. I do my own editing. It's very exciting. I actually edit on a machine that I made myself. So my technical background, I actually did the installation of my editing machine. I wanted some particular specs. So I put that together. And that's the machine I do all my editing on, that kind of stuff. And once it's done, I put it out there, see what happens, and just love getting the feedback on it. Love hearing what people have to say. And also hopefully helping others, because technology can be very over people's heads very quickly. So knowing how to speak in a common way, you don't have to be the most intelligent person in the room, but you can speak with people and make technology more accessible.
Yeah, you need a certain base level understanding of technology so that you can at least, join the conversation. But once you're in, I think people in the field love to talk geek. So if people are willing to listen and have, then it's a great way to learn. So I think you really add a lot, and you walk through in your video, very clearly, here's the 5 different things you should consider when buying a monitor. So I think it's really at a level that people who are looking, whether you're a business or an individual, you can learn a lot from your videos.
Yeah, absolutely. So me, I do come from a technical background. I majored in information systems and technology in college, fell in love with computer science, fell in love with project management. If anyone's doing anything with Agile, I'm very jealous right now. And it's just something that I find very fun. But then it's also fun because when I'm talking to people that don't know about it, it's like, what? You don't know about this thing that I absolutely love? Let me give you all of the information, and I just want to share and share and share. So it's very, very exciting.
Great. Well, it comes through for sure on your videos. But you said you majored in technology in college, and then you came to Lenovo as part of our laser program. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the laser program is the Lenovo Accelerated Sales Rotational Program. The best thing about laser is kind of the fact that it is a rotational. So you're going to spend time in different sectors, different places for different quarters of the business, and then eventually leads to you working in a position in sales. What was interesting about the year that I came in this past June, oh man, we're almost at a year. I've been working. It's exciting because this year when they did it, they also included technical client advisor, so a TCA. And it would be that you go through the laser program, you get all of that good information about sales, and then you're able to go into pre-sales engineering as a technical client advisor. Me personally, it was super exciting and I loved it because it was like, okay, I'm going to have 24 other friends that I'm going to be working with and we're all going to work together. And it will then turn into our careers. And that's really great. You start off with a really good network. And then the network is also built because we were the 10th group. So we've got 9 other generations of lasers before us who we ask them questions. They take us out for like coffee or something. We text. It's very good, very it gives back, and it's good to be a part of that feedback loop because they're hiring in Gen 11. So if anyone's in Gen 11 and is looking for someone that's a laser, hi. so
Great.
it was really cool. And then, so the first rotation that you do is just like a business rotation. I got very lucky. Mine was in the commercial deployment readiness team, which meant that I got to work on all kinds of like deployment stuff and then also updating stuff. So Lenovo Patch is a really great software that I got to see, Update Retriever. I got to clone Update Retriever as a PowerShell automation, which was fantastic, lots of fun. And then my second rotation was actually in sales. So I was there and I'm answering the phones and I'm helping people find computers that are right for them. So I got to talk about what I love all day. And then this rotation that I'm in right now, I'm working on the brand team and it's probably going to be my final spot just because I've been loving it so much. And I'm getting to do more of those conversations, but then also finding new ways to reach out, which is a lot of what the videos are about, is finding those new ways to talk technology and bring it to a bigger audience.
So you're technically still in the laser rotation program right now, and you're trying to keep
Technically, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so the TCA group of us, the 5 of us that were in on the TCA side, we're a bit more settled now because we're with the TCA team, and then the people that are still working in sales, they may have another rotation where they switch out, and some of them may even wind up with this as their final spot. So it's like, I'm really enjoying public sector, or I'm really enjoying healthcare, and you find your passions there because it's what you're working in. It's not like you're just interning or something like that. You're in the weeds, you're in the thick of it. And that's such a big part of making sure that you love what you do because you're spending time doing it, and then you go from there. It's really fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. AJ said hi in the comments. Hi, AJ.
Hi, AJ.
Oh, Rachel's here too. Hi, Rachel Graham.
Hi, Rachel. Oh, man. Oh, Rachel's fantastic. So I actually do recruitment with Rachel. So thank you so much for joining.
That's great. Hi, Rachel. So we've talked about the laser program. We introduced you a little bit. Let's bounce around here. I got a lot of topics I want to cover, and as people join, please put comments into the put it in the comments, and we'll make sure Victoria hits those also. But what was your first exposure to technology and coding and information systems?
Oh, man. So technology, coding, information systems, it's technically 3 different answers. So my first exposure to technology, I was about 15 years old and I wanted to build my first computer. And I also wanted an iPhone that year. It was really funny. I was like, man, I got to get like my own cell phone. I want to do this kind of stuff. And my parents were like, well, you need money for purchases. That's how commerce works. I did have like, a little job, but it was about to be the summertime and I wanted to make a little bit more money. So I started working at an amusement park, actually. So if anyone's from New York and you know Rye Playland, yeah, I worked there in guest services for a summer. I'm never going to eat cotton candy again. But it was a lot of fun. I did the work. It was great. And then the reward for it was being able to do that first computer, get my phone, have that kind of independence, and really work towards something. So that was the first exposure to it. And that's just technology, just the sorts of things that I wanted to do. So I'd spend the whole summer and I'm like looking at components and this and that. And I'm like, I gotta save for this. Like, it was very exciting to have something I was working towards. I think every kid has that moment where it's like the first thing that you really bought on your own.
Yeah. I feel like your peers may have been saving for that new Coach purse or something, though. So for you to save for, upgraded memory for your
for my
computer.
computer. Yeah, I was that kid. So it's
Yeah,
funny. My dad loves that story mostly just because he's like, I told her she was going to work in technology. So he was right. And then my first exposure to coding was actually with my sister's husband, my brother-in-law. It was probably a year or two later. I spent the summer there with them, and I was in Maryland instead of in New York. And he was like, you're not just going to spend a week sitting on my couch. We got to get you doing something. I want to make sure you're being active.
okay.
So what wound up happening was he gave me a coding project, and it was, here, I want you to learn how to do such and such. And it was a part of the chase, I guess, like the puzzle solving, the fact that it was like, this is something I don't know and I want to know. And then the results of it, like you feel like you just made fire when your code compiles. And that feeling has not gone away. Like anytime I make something work on a computer, I'm just like, yeah.
And how old were you when your uncle gave you that project?
So I was probably 16, 17. So yeah, if I was working that summer, I was 15, and then like not too long after. So 16, 17 years old. And right around that same time is when you're making the college choices. So it was around, so it was the summer before my senior year. And I was very much so like, okay, I think I enjoyed coding because it was just so satisfying. I'm really a puzzle kind of person. So something goes wrong and you're like, well, is this it? Is that it? You look at it from all of those different angles. And you get the chance to fix whatever is broken. And then after that whole year of my senior year, you're doing your college applications, things like that. And I searched a couple of different fields. Information systems became kind of a important topic to me because I was like, it's the puzzle solving of business technology. So now not just as granular as the coding stuff like that, like the individual pieces of it. It's now, how does an entire system come together to make business work? And I was like, oh, I could solve that the rest of my life. That's the world's biggest puzzle. Is making the whole idea of technology and business work. So got into that, and then I was actually taking my first real information systems class, and we had a guest speaker that came in, and he talked all about his career in it and just the trajectory of being able to work with so many people, helping so many people. And I was like, oh, I picked the right field. I was like, yeah, this was a great choice. So 18-year-old me is like in Poughkeepsie. I went to Marist. I don't know if you can see my pennant up there. I went to Marist.
Okay. Good job.
Yeah, so 18-year-old me sitting there in college, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm so excited that I'm in the field. It was tough, finishing out school, and nothing ever comes easy, but I knew it was what I wanted. And now looking back at it, now that I'm post my college graduation, it all just felt so worth it.
Yeah. Were there some barriers though from you said you had a dad who kind of inspired you a little bit and maybe an uncle, but any barriers to get into information technology?
Lots of barriers. So my sibling group is mostly girls. So I kind of spent my whole life seeing girls do just about anything because I have more sisters than brothers. So 2 brothers, 5 sisters. So it was basically anything that I saw, graduations I was going to, all of that. It was very much so, okay, women do whatever they want, kind of. And even though that was my experience, I would interface with a lot of people that didn't necessarily have that same concept of it. A lot of people who probably would have just thought, okay, yeah, I know we're not like in the 50s or anything, but there's just some jobs that aren't for girls. And some things like technology and being in tech, it had that very much so like, yeah, I guess you could do it, but like, are you going to do it well? Like people that were willing to accept that I was there, but weren't willing to really say, she's going to do great. People didn't expect great. So it was always good to prove those kinds of people wrong, but it sometimes meant fighting a little bit harder to get in the room to try to prove myself. So now it's not just proving yourself once you're in there, it's getting the chance to get in the room with those kinds of people that you can prove yourself in front of. So that definitely was a factor for me. I enjoyed when I did get those chances to prove myself because I knew I was going to. Lord willing, I was going to give it my all and give it my best. But it can sometimes be a detractor when you have people who talk to you and kind of are like, well, what's your plan B? And are like, you've got something else in mind in case this doesn't work out, right? And it's like, no, I don't. This is it. All my eggs, one basket, and I'm going forward. But yeah, you deal with a lot of people that are like, are you sure?
Yeah.
You got to be sure.
Well, I can sense your passion and also, in your spirit that you're going to get what you're striving for. So that's really. Did you have? Peer pressure can be both positive and negative. Did you have peer pressure to succeed and go in technology, and peer pressure not to? And how did that fit in?
Yeah, so I mean, I mention it all the time. I grew up in New York. I grew up in Yonkers. It's a very large kind of city environment, and it's one of those cities where people say you get away from it if you can, and then if you don't, you'll spend your whole life there. It becomes very cyclical. And I feel like a lot of cities, like in America overall, can kind of get that vibe to them where it's like, if you're not careful, you'll find yourself in that same cycle, that same circle. Some people who were as young as me, who would have had just as many chances, let that mentality get to them at that early age. So it's like, rather than even trying to fight and push, they weren't pushing. So they had already made the choice for themselves at 16. I'm going to be here the rest of my life. And wouldn't necessarily look. So being somebody that was a little bit younger that was looking, it could sometimes feel weird because you're like, am I the only one that's doing this? And I did have friends that were doing it. But you're just like, is everyone kind of picked already that it's this, we're here, this is the only place. So that would get sometimes discouraging because you feel like, am I crazy that I was living in Yonkers and then Poughkeepsie was about an hour and a half away. So for college, it was, do I want to move an hour and a half away from my family now just so I can go to more school? And you're like, is it weird that I want to do something like that? And then when I graduated, I moved from Poughkeepsie down to North Carolina, and I felt weird because it was like, am I going to fit in a whole new state? Am I making the right choice by not choosing to stay in New York? Is it the right thing? Am I crazy for wanting this kind of stuff? So it very much so became that personal reminder of, you do it for you, because when you're a kid, it's kind of like, well, who even am I? But you have to have that in mind for yourself. But it wasn't easy. You've got your friends that are like, man, we can miss class. The homeworks aren't as important. This isn't as important because it's just school.
Right.
School can
when
mean
am I ever going to use this? Or, what's the value of this? When am I ever going to do, a long division?
Yes. It's like the Pythagorean theorem, that's never going to come up. Like, no one feels like it's super important. But you do those things and it builds discipline for you. And it's great to have that discipline because then you can go on and you can do anything because you've built a foundation for yourself. So treating high school well means that you can treat that future well. If you choose to go to college or not, it's being able to have that foundation. You treat it well, you build the habits. It can become whatever it is that you want in the future. So keeping strong with that, and that wasn't easy. I had a lot of reminders from my mother, who was very clear about, you're not grown, and you need to make sure you can take care of yourself. So very, very much so had that mom there who was strong about it. Like, you gotta stay focused. And I did, thankfully, thank the Lord, I definitely did stay focused and got through it. But it's not easy because you're super young and it seems like what's going to happen in the future. But the future's there. Oh, it's out there.
You mentioned your mom and your dad. Do you have any other role models or major influencers?
Yeah. So, and I keep mentioning my very large family. So yeah, it's very much so lucky to kind of have that. It takes a village mindset about it. The aunts, the uncles, the sisters, the brothers. It did take a lot of people to sort of shape those early experiences. And then beyond it, I sort of just like people who faced really crazy odds and still did something amazing. So Stevie Wonder, for example, where it's like, he's a blind musician and probably one of the world's greatest musicians, but he can't see what? So things like that are always just very inspiring to me. I love seeing people just facing the odds, because you never know what could happen. And a lot of people who were told no, it's just like, you can either turn that answer around or go and do something else with it, because you have to do what's right for you. You have your dreams, you have your goals, you have your vision. you got to do it. And I love, love, love seeing people face the odds. So I see it in technology, in science, lots of women that were scientists that wanted to do it, but were told no, and they did. So yeah, I'm a big Katherine Johnson fan, all those kinds of things. I just love seeing people like go up against what would have seemed impossible.
Yeah, I was. I watched the Super Bowl. I'm not a big football fan, but one of the commercials during Super Bowl was of that family that adopted that girl who didn't have any legs, and then she. I don't know if you saw that commercial, but that was sort of inspiring me to just at a family, how important it is to success to have a group around you. So, in a lot of ways, you and I are very similar, right? We're both geeks, I feel like, and technology people, and both like to make videos. But obviously, there's some other areas we're very different. Um, how does someone like me or somebody who has differences with other people, how do you ally and help, and how would somebody begin to support somebody who's different than them, or encourage them in a field, or and bring more people into technology who aren't necessarily like them? How would somebody like me or somebody else start down that road? How do you think?
Yeah, and I think the important thing is starting to ask questions like that. So I really appreciate this one, because that's what's important. What you just mentioned is the fact that there are a lot of things that are similar about us, even though there are those differences. It's being able to say, oh wait, I see the same passion, the same drive, the same interest in someone who may not be like me, but could do just as much, if not more, with the right help, with the right hand. So being open to those sorts of things, you have to soften your heart to being willing to see that within someone else. And then the second part of it is sort of just asking them what they want. What ways can you be helpful to them? That listening is very important, because there's some people who it's like, I sort of just want someone to talk to, or I want someone who's going to help give me direction, sort of give me those resources, like if that's what they're missing. Give me those book recommendations, tell me which TED Talks I should be watching, what sort of resources helped you along the way that I should be looking into. And then also sort of being there for correction sometimes too, because some people may just need a little bit of polishing, they need a little bit of extra zhuzh so that they can be their fullest. So being able to ask the person, what is it that you're looking for? What's going to be most helpful to you so that you can do what it is that you want to do? Because I see where you're passionate. I see where you're going, because I share that with you. So what can I do to help? And that asking is what's most important, is starting the conversation. And sometimes the conversation is just, what am I missing? So what parts of your experience as a person who's different than me, what am I missing from that? How do I become more empathetic? How do I become less blind to it? That ignorance is bliss. A lot of things people just don't know. So they think things have gotten much, much better, or they're so different, when in reality, there's a lot of things that we could still be doing. So opening up to the questions, giving those people who don't necessarily have a platform as often the chance to speak, and opening up the dialogue, because that's really what it needs to become, is figuring out what's going to be right, for that feedback loop of here's where we're similar, and here's where we're different, and here's why it's not that bad.
I'm at a point in my career, I'm 51. I've accomplished a lot of things that I wanted to accomplish, and a lot of it was, through privilege or some hard work and a lot of luck, and mentors along the way, and people who reached out to me. But I also, as much as it's on me now to want to try to inspire and help and guide people like yourself where you're at in your career, some of it is people have to be brave and come to me and ask. So I would say, there is a certain responsibility on people who want to be mentored to reach out to those people who are kind of been down a path where they want to go, and just ask them, say, hey, are you willing to meet with me for a half an hour a month, or can we just talk? And just have that just be a little bit brave to reach out to people and ask for a mentorship, or at least a conversation.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Most of it, that self-advocacy piece is really, it's what I call it all the time, because like a lot of people don't take the chance to be a self-advocate. So I completely agree. It's the first half of it, of course, like what I just talked about. And then that second piece is, if it's what you want, it's what you're going to go out and get. So someone that is my age or younger, If you're looking for a mentor, then find the mentor. And you go out, you find the person that you would want, and hopefully that person is already on the other side of it, where they've said, okay, I see it in this person. Let me find out what they need. But you have to have that plan. You have to be able to voice what it is that you need from someone. So, oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, when I think about my own personal experience, the internships I had, I applied for. The job I have now, I applied for. You put yourself in the space to be selected, to be asked for. You know, you make sure someone knows your name, whatever it takes. You're banging on doors, whatever it takes. You know, you're like, I need to get tutored, I need to talk to my professors, I need to go to office hours, whatever it is, you do whatever it takes.
That's really good.
Yeah.
One more question kind of in this area. So do you have a clear picture of your future, or are you still kind of day by day, or a little bit of both, or what do you think?
I'll say both, but I'm definitely playing it a little bit more by ear right now. I think, well, it's kind of hard. So I'm one of those 2020 graduates. You know, I graduated from Zoom University when I didn't plan to. You know, the end of my college career, my last semester of college was not spent how I planned it. So kind of becomes a little bit hard to plan, you know, after the hurricane of so much that went on. So it's a little bit tough to sort of figure out, where do I go from here? But you still have to have part of it ready. Even though it was literally my spring break. So we went away. I was in North Carolina actually during spring break, got the email. The next time I was going to be on campus was the last time I was going to be on campus. And then I was going to be home. I was back in Yonkers with my parents, and I was going to just take the rest of my classes online for the rest of the semester. And it felt like such a transition from literally what I had just been doing. And it was like everything that I had planned up to that point, it wasn't coming out at the way I planned, like whatsoever. We were so far away from the plan. So now I'm in the place where it was like, okay, I do still have a job. I've got my education. I've got a good head on my shoulders. Lord willing, it's going to turn out okay.
Yeah.
And thankfully it did. You know, I'm very happy with what I'm doing now. But, you know, I don't know what's going to happen in the future. So I'm a little bit nervous. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't nervous, because what's going to happen next? I don't even know the next time I'm going to walk into the grocery store showing my whole face. So it's hard to have that solid plan for the future. But I do have things I want. So, you know, I'm always looking out to make sure that I'm doing the stuff that's going to lead towards what I want to do in the future. So whether that's having these kinds of conversations, I love getting to do these sorts of things. I love getting to be out on social media, share the stuff that I'm passionate about. And then also on the other side of it is with work. Am I meeting the right people? Am I still networking? Am I staying on my toes about building that future, even if I'm not exactly sure what it's going to look like? So yeah, it's all a part of it. I don't have an exact plan. I am playing it a little bit by ear right now.
Yeah.
But you keep working. Even if you don't have an exact plan, you don't have the plan for the house yet, but you're gathering all of your materials. So I'm gathering materials. I don't know what the blueprint is yet for what I'm building, but I'm getting materials.
Yeah. And for the people online, Shandon, thanks for commenting. But yeah, if you have questions for me or Victoria, I'm sure they're mostly going to be for Victoria. Put them in the comment box, and we'll ask those as we go. So you mentioned there about COVID, you know, and we're in school from home. That's affected all of our lives. So how is you're in this role in technology, you're a technical advocate for Lenovo. How do you see technology impacting work from home now? And then like a year from now, how do you think technology is going to impact work and work from home?
Yeah, so I feel like, great question. My generation, and specifically my group that we all just graduated in 2020, we're fortunate because we kind of saw both sides of it, from the school from home, and now we are in our new jobs and we're working as well from home. And so getting to know a little bit about both sides, you know, what were those times where I really couldn't focus in classes, and what are the times now that I really can't focus in meetings? And figuring out what's similar about those experiences and also different. So right now, technology is great because we're able to still communicate with each other. We're doing it more. We're doing it in some cases better, because it's like, all right, I can be more willing to send the email instead of schedule the meeting because I know it's going to require a bit more. And then also scheduling meetings that we normally wouldn't get the chance to have. So opening up dialogue with people that are miles and miles away because we're now more used to it by having that virtual experience. It's great. So technology is fantastic for that, and I love it. The issue is because technology is so great and so on demand, a lot of the work that we're doing has become very, very on demand. And we're doing it more and we're doing it for longer because it's just us interacting with the technology. So somebody like, I mentioned it in my video that I did on monitors, like the average adult is averaging 10 hours of screen time a day. So that's 2 longer than that average 8. And then also, it's probably more consistent time because if I'm an 8-hour work day, yeah, I'm doing more bathroom breaks. I leave the office for lunch. I spend time talking with my friends. I get to have that water cooler chatter that you don't normally get in the virtual environment. So whether it's kind of taking more time to have those personal ninth inning stretches when you're in that virtual environment, like setting the time aside where it's like, I won't be on screens. I won't be just sitting in the chair. I will stretch. I will go out and get fresh air. There's a lot that we kind of have to be very intentional about just because it's not stuff that we're getting naturally anymore because we're not in an office environment. As far as a year from now, what I think is going to happen, I would hope that we're in a hybrid environment. I hope everyone gets to experience the hybrid environment of being able to share both in office and home space, because now that we've experienced the joy of being in a meeting in sweatpants, I don't think anyone is going to stop enjoying being in meetings in sweatpants.
I think it's going to be strange when people go back to office, and not everybody's going to go back. So a large part of being in the office is the whole team's there. You're doing this camaraderie. Well, if 2/3 of the team isn't there, then what is going to happen at the office? When most of the team is still remote. So that'll be I think it's going to be a weird transition and may never go back to the way it was. And
I mean, it's interesting because everyone always says back to office, but it's like we're never going to be going back to the way that we were before. It's just not going to happen immediately.
Yeah.
So that idea of BTX, so back to X, and it's just going to be something that's different, that new hybrid, whatever it is it's going to look like, and more so preparing ourselves for that than just yep, and one day everything's going to return to normal. I think it's a better way to frame it, and kind of companies and people need to start kind of preparing themselves more for a year from now. It's going to be this new X, whatever that strange situation is, rather than expecting things to be exactly the way that they were before.
Yeah, we have a big push in Lenovo on collaboration tools and smart office, smart collaboration things. I think that's going to be really critical if you've got 3 people in the office on your team getting together in a little huddle room, and then 4 people on the team outside of the office. Those kind of huddle room, smart collaboration environments in the office are going to be really important. One thing that our president said during a call last week, I think, was that we may, if everybody gets a vaccine in June, maybe the offices could open, but they won't open because they're going to have to spend the next few months reconfiguring the whole way the office is configured at Lenovo to support what going back into the office is going to look like. So it's going to be a reconstruction of the physical environment to support the new world too.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a hand in hand between IT offices and real estate. So it's figuring out if it's going to be smart sensors in the room. Are we tabulating how many people are in a space and kind of saying, okay, we know we've hit our max capacity in such and such conference room. Is it going to be the UC communications? Are we going to start using those to put buffer time in between when meetings are, so we can make sure cleaning can get done in between when people have been in certain spaces. So the technology of it all can now also play into the safety of it all. So making sure IT and whoever's in charge of buildings is working together to figure out what's going to be best, what's going to be right. Is it making sure proper sensors and IoT technology can be used to make sure the air is clear enough? Too many people that are in the space. Do we need to regulate temperature differently? Are we sensing temperature differently? How are we making sure people are wearing masks in common spaces? How are we doing all of that? And technology can play a really big role in it and making it easier for us. So it's going to be interesting to see all of the ways it's going to start affecting my life. My mom is convinced we're all going to start walking around like Star Trek, on holodecks and stuff. And you got to key into every room and all those kinds of things. So she's ready. My parents are Trekkies, so she's ready.
All right. Well, I'm a big Star Trek fan, so she speaks my language too. Um, we have a couple of questions. Maybe we should take those. So Jim Folk, hi Jim, thanks for joining. He said it's probably so hard for 2020 grads to stay motivated and fight discouragement if they don't have a job lined up. Do you see a lot of that, and have you been able to encourage others? So I'm sure you got your university banner up there. I'm sure not everybody has quick a transition to employment as you do. Do you stay in contact with them, or any thoughts on how to encourage grads who might not be finding jobs in this environment?
Yeah, and I think that was kind of also a hard part of me moving and me still being able to do the work that I was doing, because I had friends that was taken away from them. So one particular friend of mine, he was going to be teaching overseas. So it's like, okay, he has a passion for teaching. He was going to be doing it with students in another country. And now that's completely kind of gone for him. And it's on this postponed, up in the air kind of thing. Um, and that hurts, because it's like I saw us go through our 4 years and it's like, okay, we both did everything right. And now something that was completely out of his hands kind of took that experience from him. So what do you say to someone where it's like their whole world is kind of just the carpet from under you out of nowhere? And there's nothing right to say. There is no perfect phrase. There's no card. Unfortunately, Hallmark has not made a perfect card for something like this. But yeah, it's being there for those people in those situations. They'll probably have their own plan for transition. He's transitioned very well and been able to make a lot of the situation as is now. But ask somebody, are they looking for some type of solution, or do they just need comfort? Because I know right when it hit, like right when I had to go and clean out my dorm room when I was on campus, my dad at the time being very encouraging, and his heart was so in the right place. He was very like, you're going to be fine. We're going to move on from this. Everything's going to be great. And at the time I sort of just needed to sit, and I had to have a minute. I needed that time to myself. And there's some people who are still going through it, like the grief of what was taken from graduates. And even right now for students that are graduating 2021, there is an unbelievable grief of not being able to do this the way that you always expected. Like when you got your acceptance letter, when you opened up that this was the school that you were going to be going to, you imagined yourself walking across the stage. You imagined shaking hands. You imagined the friends that you would make, all of that you'd have, and you didn't get that. Like, and it's grief. Yeah. So in that same vein, there's nothing perfect to say. You want to just be there for people. And then if you hear about those experiences and you know that like someone's looking for what their next step might be, totally share them. I love when people post jobs on LinkedIn or are just posting those different resources, new things to learn. So if you have people that are in your life that want to learn more and aren't still in that kind of sensitive place, give them their time. But then for people who you know are looking, help them look.
Yeah, I think what you said is so insightful. It probably goes beyond, just technology, but just I think Ecclesiastes says that if laugh with those who are laughing, but mourn with those who are mourning. We just got to give each other space to, be real, and then kind of be with each other. And I think that COVID's probably taught us all that. We just need to support each other, for sure. In addition to the 450,000 people who died in the U.S. And around the world, millions because of it. There's, so much. I think of the Olympics, and those athletes that have trained that long, and just so many people have gotten so much taken away from them from COVID. So it's been a tough, and some of it we won't recover from, and some of it will become a little stronger from. So.
Yeah, it's always great to think about that stronger time. And now I'm in the place where I can be very excited, sort of like about, okay, these are the new things that I'll probably get to experience. But I can't say I don't miss it, I think about how beautiful some people's graduation photos are when they're on our big Marist Beach. We have this giant hill, the Marist Beach. And to think like, I don't have those photos. I don't have those moments. And there's no way that it could kind of be recreated. Like I know a lot of students did like later graduations and stuff like that, but it's like nothing's ever going to be that moment. And that happens for a lot of people in different forms. So nothing's ever going to be, the wedding or the baby shower, all of those things that have changed, the birthday parties, all of that kind of stuff that's very different now. And we're finding ways to work within it. but there's definitely a grief. So I identify with all of it, and I definitely like stand with a lot of what's happened, and for others that are experiencing it in ways that I haven't even experienced it. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, we have another comment, a couple of them in the section. So it says the pandemic has forced organizations to pivot and look and doing business differently. Those who don't adapt will get left behind. I think we're seeing that companies that were maybe struggling before the pandemic it's accelerated their having to change their business model or close permanently. We've seen a lot of that.
Yeah.
Um,
Like IT departments have always had the idea of if it ain't broke, like don't fix it. Like it's all sort of always just worked on its, grit, spit, and duct tape, like everyone's sort of just managed. And then 2020 kind of just broke IT, where it was like now something is broken. The infrastructure that we did have isn't working anymore. So everyone became reactive very quickly, and you react to what's going on. You do everything you can. And we've gotten to that mellow space where now we can reflect. So it's like, it all happened. How do we reflect on what went right, what went wrong? It's up to companies to be honest with themselves and for employees to be honest with their employer and say, here's what is working, here's what's not working, here's what I didn't like about the transition, here's what would make me more comfortable when I go back. And then they have to be proactive. So now it's like, once we've reflected, once we figure out what we can do, we have to have a go strategy. We have to be prepared for the year from now, so that things can be the way that we really want them to be. So we had to be reactive when this thing happened, but now we get to be proactive about the next thing that's going to happen, which is going to be getting back in. How do we make that back office strategy that we were talking about earlier? How do we make it even stronger?
Yeah, I heard one of our Lenovo executives in a conversation yesterday, not to me, but publicly said, well, what led the digital transformation for your company? Was it your CIO, your CFO, or coronavirus? Right. So a lot of companies have done their 10-year transition plan has been condensed into a few months because of coronavirus. So yeah. We have a comment in the section here that says, enjoying the talk, exclamation point. We, UB Tech, are helping organizations have a safe reopen plan and stay open plan with ADI bot and UVC robot. So shout out to UB Tech thanks for watching.
Thank you. Yeah, I think technology companies have definitely had to get more and more inventive, and finding new ways to make new technology and make technology work in the new ways. So 5G tech, is that going to be helpful? How are we leveraging 5G in order to get computers or get technology to people who don't currently have them? I know Lenovo's been really great about making more machines that are going to feature 5G. And then also the Wi-Fi technology, so being able to have Wi-Fi 6 in more accessible places so that you can do more and you can have better connectivity. So those kinds of technologies, and then also even simple things like video cameras. Who knew webcams would be so important?
Yeah. Yeah, everybody, our new line of laptops, that's the big push, is we're going from HD to FHD cameras in a lot of our new laptops, and I think people want even higher res. That's the future generations.
No, I keep my main desk camera that I keep over here is a 2K camera, and I know some people that have the 4K with the ring light and all of the stuff, and they got to make sure they're the hottest one on video or something. Yeah. I don't know. I do my best to look good on videos, that kind of stuff, when it's my recording videos, but it's hard to keep myself did I brush my hair today? When I'm doing just work, it's hard.
Yeah, I'm in sales, so a big part of sales is establishing rapport. So I'm pretty much the guy when you're in a meeting. I keep my camera on, so 9 out of 10 people have their camera off, and I'm the guy with it on, just because I have to feel like I can't travel. I got to get somehow connected with my team and my customers, right? So I pretty much leave my camera on all the time.
Oh yeah, I think that the camera on definitely does help. And then some people are worried because they're like, oh, my kids are in the background, my animals are in the background. I think it's just more personable. I mean, we have those things that we can be worried about, but since we're all in that virtual environment, it's A-okay. We're all we should all be much more understanding because we're all going through the same stuff. So I don't think people should feel so embarrassed. Like, I mean, I'm on right now and I'm wearing my lumberjack, like my flannel. Um, People
Yeah.
should be more comfortable.
Yeah. It can get exhausting though, because you feel like by the end of the day you've been posing, for the whole day. So you're ready to turn it off for sure. And then
Yeah.
you
Oh
get
no, I'm a very accidental smiler. So like I find myself like smiling a lot of the day, and then I get out of meetings and I'm like, why do my cheeks hurt? Like, what have I been doing all day?
yeah. Yep. And then your family or your church or somebody else wants to have a Zoom call at the end of the day to catch up.
Yes.
And you're like, I've been on Zoom calls all day, or I've been on Teams all day. So, yeah.
I've actually got two birthdays in my family today. So two of my sisters, Nicole and Latoya, it's their birthday today. So shout out to them. And I'm going to be on a Zoom call later, probably for birthday.
Yeah. Are they twins or just born on the same day, different years? I mean, same day.
Separate, well, same day, different years. And then Latoya is my brother's wife. So she's my sister-in-law. And then my older sister, Nicole, she's the oldest and I'm the youngest. So shout out to Alpha because I'm Omega. And we make up the bookends of our sibling group.
Mm. Well, I'm the Omega of 4 boys. So
Oh, yes. Yeah, no, I always love meeting people with larger sibling groups. I grew up in a big family, so I always love people who can get with the very lively conversations. As you've noticed, I'm a hand talker, and we all are. So it's basically watching like ninja combat at my dinner table when all of us are together and we're all just throwing our hands.
yeah. No, I have 4 kids, and me and my wife have 4 kids also. So we have during COVID, a lot of them moved back home. So we've been, we look back and we say, could this maybe we'll see this as one of the best years of our lives? Just having this privilege to bring all these kids back and in our lives, maybe probably for the last time. So it's all these things that are like, oh, that's terrible, we can't go out, but we have to also celebrate that we get this time with our kids too. So.
Yeah, I think that that's such a beautiful part of it. Like, because the way that things were shaping up for me, even my parents got that time back with me right before I graduated because I moved home to finish college. So that meant 3.5 months that I wouldn't have been home, that I was able to be home before moving 5, 6 states away from them for my permanent career. So I saw that as well.
Yeah.
It's so cool. So have you guys been doing any fun quarantine activities like as a group?
They're all busy.
Yeah.
My one son is a senior in high school. The other one is a senior in college. And as a senior in college, he started student teaching here in Wake County, which is also remote in North Carolina. So he's going to college and started 1 day a week student teaching. And then in the fall, he goes full time being a student teacher here in Wake County. So, it's busy in some senses, but, we're big Disney, Star Wars, Marvel Comics geeks. So as a family, we're always finding some Marvel movie or something, WandaVision or Mandalorian. There's always something new. So we do a lot of that together.
Oh yeah, no, I do it kind of personally because none of my other siblings watch Star Wars, so like I'm very into the Mandalorian now. I started it late for some reason. I wasn't watching when the first season came out, so I'm like binging the first season of the Mandalorian right now.
So good. Yeah,
It's so
we'll do another LinkedIn Live just about Mandalorian.
Tune in for that one. That'll be much more fun. We'll have a very exciting conversation on that one. And then WandaVision's been interesting to me, mostly just because the eras that they've gone through as of now, I wasn't alive during them. So being able to see like, oh, this is what TV would have looked like, and seeing the different technology, things like that they're talking about from these eras earlier on. I always love that. Like, it's such a cool way of bringing those concepts back together throughout the episodes. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it definitely picked up in the most recent episodes 4 and 5, so it's gotten really good. So
yeah. Sorry, I don't want to spoil it for anyone that hasn't seen it
yet. Yeah. John Craig's on. He says Marist 2020 MVP. So I don't know if you know John, but
I do.
Cool.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of us Red Foxes that are out now, and it's always funny because like I'm very far away, so I'm in North Carolina, and if anyone's like, "Oh, I know Marist," I get super excited because I'm like, "Who on earth heard of our tiny little school?" And then when I'm back in New York, it's always interesting because if I'm like on Long Island or something like that, and I've got like a Marist shirt on or something, someone's bound to just go Marist, and I'm like, "Yeah, man!" So whenever I'm home, I love that.
Gotta represent Marist in all your clothes when you're home, I guess. So.
Oh yes, yeah. I get my parents to do it. So like when I was a freshman in college, my first year for Christmas, I bought both of my parents, Marist mom and Marist dad, T-shirts, and I was like, you have to wear them everywhere now, and they do. They're very, very supportive.
Well, I went to Oshkosh, which you've probably never heard of, also, which is a university in Wisconsin. So.
I've heard of Oshkosh, Washington. I didn't know that there was a school there, so that's got to be fun. You made the Midwest to Southeast move.
Yeah, some people heard of Oshkosh Bagosh clothes, or there's a truck called as an Oshkosh. They make some really big trucks, but I don't know. That's where I went to university, but nobody cares. One more question, I guess, and then we'll wrap this up. I've really enjoyed it. I think there's a lot of people joining in who are appreciating the technology and also your story and how you got into technology. But kind of knowing what you know now, we've been in this about working remotely for a year. A lot of us, this is our new life, personally and professionally and technologically. What would you have done differently over the last year?
I probably would have invested in Dogecoin. That was something I missed out on, was all of the cryptocurrency buzz. But that's a joke. Sorry.
Bitcoin's like 40,000 now. It's crazy. Yeah.
I know. I would have gotten really good at investing or something earlier on had I known it was going to be like this.
Yeah.
But no, for real, other things that I would have done differently. I probably would have given myself a little bit more time when that transition happened. I know I did like spend a little bit of time doing that grieving, but I didn't like look at my 5-year plan and really think about how much was different until this past December. So I was like thinking about doing like a New Year's resolution or something, and I was looking at all of those things that I have written down about my future plans, and I got sad. I got so sad. So I guess there was a part of it that I didn't really let myself grieve. So just making sure I had gotten that through my system earlier, like I probably would have faced my move and all that kind of stuff, just a bit more prepared had I done that sooner. And then as far as like technology stuff that I would have done differently, I probably would have gotten a more permanent desk sooner. So I had a desk, but it was kind of just like not the greatest desk. It was a little janky. So I would have gotten a more permanent desk sooner, because now I have like a nice real wood desk, and that setup makes me so much more comfortable with my work. I've got my dual monitors going, like that kind of stuff. I would have settled into that sooner. I would have gotten ready and really prepared myself to be in that home working environment much sooner had I known that I was going to be doing it for longer.
Yeah, it was nice. Lenovo gave us all some money around Christmas time to upgrade our home offices. So hopefully we were able to spend some of that and upgrade your office.
That is the desk, yes.
Yeah, it was great. That's it. I think we're almost at the top of the hour. I've really enjoyed it. Anything else you want to say, Victoria? Any last comments or anything cool you're working on you want to talk about before we wrap up?
So the top 5 watch list videos I am working on right now. So if you haven't seen the one for February already, definitely do take a second and watch that one. And then I'm going to have another series of videos that are getting released soon. So I'll put that info out when it's ready. And then I just hope everyone's being kind to themselves right now. Like I just said, it's a lot and it has a certain emotional element to it. So let yourself feel those kinds of things and get it out of the way. Because we're going to do great stuff no matter what, and there's a lot of good that can come of it. So yeah, that's it. And I'm just super happy I got to have this chance, and big thank you to you, Thomas.
Oh, thanks to you. It was great, and everybody who listened in and commented, it was great. So we'll have to get you back and see where your career is going in a few months, maybe. We'll check in. Okay.
That would be perfect. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Victoria. Bye.
All right, bye.